Happy Monday from the Palmetto Sports Daily crew. Got Julia, Tegan, Summer, and Caroline here with you on this Monday evening, and we're looking forward to recapping really a wild whirlwind of a weekend of football, a way to put it, for the state of South Carolina. And we'll start first, of course, with the Gamecocks in Columbia, a 26-7 loss to Oklahoma on Saturday, a game where didn't really know what to expect going into it, but then this is where we are on the other side. Of course, going into that game, you come on the heels of Lonnie Teasley, the former offensive line coach, being fired after the LSU game. You got Sean Elliott coming in, taking over those coaching duties, expecting something to be different there, but you look at some of the statistics from this game and not much changed. The Gamecocks were 3 of 15 on third down. They didn't get their first third down conversion until the fourth quarter, and it was just tough to watch at times with this team. Just offensively couldn't get anything going, and Oklahoma came in and got a big win in Williams-Brice Stadium. And a lot of these sparks kind of happened post-game with Shane Beamer in the post-game press conference. He was asked a question by a member of the media, and we'll take a listen here.
Shane in the middle here. It's 7 games now. The offense has just continued to struggle. At some point, do you feel like a change is needed, whether it's
I made a change last week, Jack.
I'm talking about the play calling.
Every week we're continuing to look at how to be better, and every week I do that. And every week I will continue to do that and continue to evaluate that.
What gives you hope that the play
Next
calling?
question.
Okay.
What gives me hope? I see the way we practice during the week. What gives me hope? I see the number of guys that we had out today that I wasn't even sure was going to be able to play, that fought their asses off to get back out there and get healthy and be able to play today. What gives me hope? I know the talent we have on our offense. And what I just told our team, we're not playing up to our potential right now. I am not getting the most out of this team right now, offensively, defensively, and special teams.
Of course, over the years, something Shane Beamer always talks about is how this is a team that continues to get better. Of course, we are midway through the month of October and, starting to wonder where that getting better is going to be. South Carolina, of course, 3-4 now after falling to Oklahoma, and they still have a brutal stretch of games ahead of them. They have Alabama coming to town for homecoming this coming Saturday. The Crimson Tide are now ranked number 4 in the nation after beating Tennessee. And then after that, you have after Alabama, you go on a bye, and then you have Texas A&M, and you have Ole Miss, and you have to finish off with Coastal and Clemson. So still a lot of ranked teams waiting for them, and you just got to wonder what this team is going to be able to do in order to improve down the stretch and really finish off this season strong, guys.
Yeah, Julia, it's just really hard to get the offense going when Lenore Sellers gets sacked 5 times last week against LSU, 6 times this week. I mean, it's just really hard. You can tell he's out there doing everything that he can. I want to transition over to our other team here in the upstate really quick. Just talk about the Clemson Tigers, who also fell at the hands to SMU on Saturday, losing 35-24. I feel like every time we get on this show on Mondays, we've had a lot of losing football to talk about this season, which is just hard to go off of, but that's where we're at this point in the year right now. So Clemson falls 35-24 to SMU. A lot of things to unpack in this game. I'll just go through it quickly, but they only had actually, it's their first time losing, 3 home games since 2021. So that's the Tigers' 3rd loss of the season. 3 of 4 of those have come at home. Their first time losing back-to-back games under head coach Dabo Swinney. Actually, the only losing season under Coach Swinney came in 2010. And he said after the game that this particular season is reminding him a little bit of that season from the past.
We got to pick ourselves up and keep going. That's what we're going to do. There ain't no quit in this bunch. That's one thing I'll say about this team. It hurts, but there's no quit. We're going to fight our butts off to the end, and then we'll count them all up, and then we'll, it's a season, and right now it's not been anywhere near the season that we want. Me personally, I feel like I'm kind of living 2010 all over again. That's what I feel like. We just can't seem to quite put it together and get out of our way, but. It's football. It's football. But we'll keep going. We'll bounce up. We'll pick ourselves up, and got a lot of guys out.
Back to what Coach said there at the end, having a lot of guys out. Just a reminder that quarterback Cade Klubnik did not play, breaking his 34-game starting streak. Christopher Vezina, the backup quarterback, did play in his place. Pretty good outing, though. I mean, he gave the Tigers a real chance. He had 317 yards, completed 29 of 42 of his passes, 3 touchdowns, had him within 5 in the fourth quarter. But any time that you give up 35 points and over 400 yards of offense against a conference opponent, it's going to be pretty hard to win a game. I also want to mention we are waiting on some updates for 2 other key offensive starters, Bryant Wesco Jr. and Colin Sadler, who both left that game with injuries. But guys, what do you make of this Clemson loss now that they're 3-4 halfway through the year?
You know, I got to say I'm really curious about Dabo Swinney's comparisons here. Because remember in the beginning of the season, a game in, when he was saying that this team reminds him of the 2016 national championship team? What the heck happened between then for him to say that and then now for him to say that it reminds him of 2010, that losing season under his tenure? So I'm just curious, about Dabo Swinney's comparisons, because you hear other coaches say, we're not them, that's not us. You look at Coastal Carolina's baseball coach last year, when somebody asked if they were anything like the 2016 national championship team, and he said, we're not them. So I just find Dabo Swinney's comparisons kind of interesting.
Yeah, no, I agree, Tegan. I think college football has changed a lot since 2010, and he knows that well. So it's kind of hard to compare to that, right? Obviously, he's going to know his program better than we do. So it could be more, things going on internally that we don't know about. But I think that's what's so surprising, right, is we've known the standard at Clemson. That's why this has been kind of the deal. And because last year we saw them start off kind of shaky and things got better as the season got on. So I think that's why this year's kind of different, is they don't seem to be getting better for Clemson. And I get it. I mean, you're not going to win the national title every year. Dabo said it after the game, too. He said, we will win more. I don't know if they will under him, but I do think he's way more secure in his job right now than maybe some other coaches are, despite what's kind of going on there. I mean, we look at across the league, and we talked about South Carolina also being 3-4. I don't know, Julia, who do you think is kind of on a hotter seat right now between Beamer and Swinney?
Well, to your point, I mean, there's been a lot of discussion about that here in Columbia. I mean, the Virginia Tech job is open, and Shane Beamer is already getting tied to that, whether he wants it or not. And he actually talked about that last night on his weekly teleconference, talking about, hey, South Carolina is my dream job. I came here to win a championship. We're finally getting back into the playoff conversation, but I don't like where this team is right now, and we're working to fix it. But he's still getting tied to that job. As for who is on the hotter seat, it's hard to say, because, I mean, we are still only through 7 games. And for me, I don't like the midseason firings. I don't like what they did to James Franklin at Penn State. I like to see it through, whether or not you like the direction of your season, because it gets to a point in a season where it's going to go one way, and firing a coach may not necessarily change anything. So hotter seat at this point, it's hard for me to say. I don't think either of them would be let go by their programs this season. I think if we got to a similar situation next year, then we could definitely have that conversation. But I also, to the point down on the bottom of this screen, I don't think Shane Beamer is leaving South Carolina for Virginia Tech either.
Yeah, I don't see that happening right now either. I think he's been honest with saying it's his dream job. But I guess time will tell, right? People have said that before, so I guess crazier things have happened, y'all. We'll be right back, though, after this break. We've got more to talk about in college football.
Welcome back to Palmetto Sports Daily. It was not a losing weekend of college football for every team that we talk about here on the show. Coastal Carolina getting a huge win over App State, and they needed it for a lot of reasons. One, because this is a huge rivalry. There was no love lost between these two programs. But 2, because they were at 3-3. Now they're finally back on the positive side of things record-wise. And they've got a little bit of positivity going for them just morale-wise. There's head coach Tim Beck after the game just embracing everybody, probably embracing the fact that he just secured his job a little bit more, because we've talked about multiple times this season if he was on a hot seat. Remember when I brought up those Twitter accounts that were named Fire Tim Beck? Well, fun fact, one of them had said, if Coastal wins this game, I will change my username. And he did. I tweeted at him right after, and he did it right after that. But Samari Collier, He was starting for the Chants after Tad Hudson was ruled out due to an upper body injury, and he, balled out for the Chants. He went 12 for 19 with a touchdown, 1 interception, but then on the ground, he was also one of their leaders. In fact, he was the leader. 17 carries, 74 yards, and 2 touchdowns on the ground. So really thriving for them, and I think I said this last time. It feels like he's been the answer all along, and I'm not really sure why it took Tim Beck and the crew this long to figure it out. We also saw MJ Morris for a little bit in the game. Samari went out after taking a bad hit, and for a second there, we thought that we had lost another quarterback. But MJ and Samari both got some time out there. MJ threw a pass to Samari at one point when he went back into the game. And you're looking at the field and you're like, wait a second, 7 and 10? We've got 2 quarterbacks in here? So that was kind of cool. But yeah, Coastal Carolina, really big win over App State. Here's the head coach and the QB of the game.
Incredibly proud of our football team. Just the guts, the perseverance, the grit, and all the things that we've been preaching through the course of the year showed up today, right? It wasn't pretty, but you find a way to win, and you just kept battling. You just kept hanging in there, and we found a way to win at the end.
All off season, we worked for this, man. We did reminders, grit, we did everything. And I feel like it built us for this, so it wasn't a surprising moment for me, man. We came ready to play, we came ready to fight. I mean, like you said, it's gonna be adversity through times like this, but we came ready to fight, and we came out victorious.
So now Coastal Carolina heads into a bye week, which is a bit needed because of the injuries that they do have on the team. Of course, Tad Hudson, who I doubt we'll see start again, but maybe I'm wrong. And then I know that Shane Bruce is still recovering from some stuff. And then Coastal will be back at home on October 30th to take on Marshall and the former backup Syracuse QB Carlos Del Rio Wilson, Julia.
Well, Tegan, let me ask you this. How much do you think this saved Tim Beck?
Oh, I think this was a big savior for him. I think that if Coastal had lost this, I think that either they would have taken Tim Beck out of it right after that or would have given him maybe one more game. But, this is huge. And Coastal's also beat App State 4 years straight now, so a huge win for them there.
Turned into a big one. Well, also not a bad weekend for SC State because they were off this past weekend. So got a little bit of bye week action in. Just went down to talk to head coach Chennis Berry earlier this morning, and he said it wasn't an off week. They were still putting the work in, but they look ahead to MEAC play, which begins this week. They'll be on the road at Norfolk State taking on Michael Vick and his team up there in Virginia. And, talking about this SC State team, they're 4-3 to this point. Their losses to South Carolina, South Florida, and then that upset loss to Charleston Southern several weeks ago. But talking to Coach Berry, he said he really likes where this team is at. Most importantly, they're healthy right now, which is something they really needed. And he likes their mentality of how they're approaching these last 5 games of the season. And especially, they're coming on the heels of, a season where they won this conference a year ago. So looking to expand on those goals again. And, he's talking about this month in particular. Here's what Coach had to say about October.
At this time of the year, we always talk about October. October is a very important month in the game of football. You kind of find out who you are in September. That's just cross college football. And then October, you start hitting your strides. And right now, we've won 2 games in October. We say if we take care of October, we can make it a November to remember.
So yes, that game coming up here on Saturday on the road, and then they'll have their MEAC opener the following weekend. So lots to look forward to with SC State. This is the part of this the season that people really look forward to, Summer.
Yeah, Julia, do I wish this game was in Orangeburg? I would love to see Michael Vick here taking on Chennis Berry down here in South Carolina, but I know they'll get it next year, so super excited for that matchup this Saturday. I do want to note it's kind of late to be starting conference play, Julia, but if you've kind of followed this program a little more, where do you see SC State standing in the MEAC right now, and what do you think are their chances to kind of get back there to the Celebration Bowl?
So there are a couple teams in the conference who are 5-2. They're sitting there at 4-3, but this is the very beginning of MEAC play for all of the teams. Of course, we have to remember this is only a 6-team conference, so they do have to fill in that first half of the season with all out-of-conference opponents. So this is typically when it all gets going for them, and of course they had a really nice placement of the bye week in between all of those non-conference games, and then now getting to jump into this. So I think they're in a good spot. They're healthy, like he told me earlier today, and they're just really looking forward to getting this going, especially all of the home games that they'll get to play at Oliver C. Dawson. But hey, we've got more coming up after the break. Stick with us.
Welcome back here to Palmetto Sports Daily on this Monday afternoon as we recap the weekend of college football. And we do want to note a special story coming out of the Division III level. Running back Monty Quinn, he's a Stratford High School alum from down here in Goose Creek. And this past weekend, he set the NCAA single game rushing record for all divisions. He plays for Division III Curry College up in Massachusetts, and in their win, it was a 71-27 win over Nichols. He rushed for 522 yards on 20 carries, 7 touchdowns in this game. There he goes, and I want to list off these runs just because these were insane carries. He had his touchdowns. They went for 64 yards, 30, 76, 84, 58, 2, and then 85 yards. So despite that 2-yard touchdown run, these were all he was hauling across the field. I actually got a chance to catch up with him briefly over a Zoom call yesterday, and he was talking about just how much this has meant for this program. He's a senior now, and he was an all-state, all-conference rushing player, running back, all of this stuff the last 2 years. So he said to kind of get some recognition for this, being at the Division III level, a lot of these guys don't always get the notice. He said it's been really cool, but he was so humble. He was like, the season's not done yet. We have more goals to do. He said that Nichols game that he had that performance against, he said last year they lost to them late. So he said his real motivation was he just wanted to get some revenge. I'll say he did that and more. I actually saw ESPN talking about his story. So really cool to see that. I know the previous record at the Division I level was held by Samaje Perine for Oklahoma back in 2014. And then the all-time record was another Division II or Division III player with a little over 400 yards. So his plus 500-yard performance is pretty insane. So we just wanted to shout out Monty Quinn for that, and from him playing high school here in the Low Country, Goose Creek. So kind of cool to see all the outpouring of support for him on social media. His former teammates were just saying, yeah, that guy's got it. His former offensive lineman, his quarterbacks. So I just thought that was really special to see y'all, and kind of cool to see the local tie. And these Division III guys don't always get a lot of notice. So special to see for him nonetheless. We have more to come here on Palmetto Sports Daily, including the Carolina Panthers are 4-3. They are above 500. So yeah, we're going to talk about it. We'll be right back.
Welcome back into Palmetto Sports Daily. Guys, last week we were super pumped because the Carolina Panthers were 500 for the first time since 2021. But now, after yesterday, they're above 500 for the first time since 21, sitting at 4-3 on the year after taking down the Jets 13-6 in New Jersey. And this was just an all-around kind of not the best performance offensively for the Panthers, so we won't focus on that specifically, but I do want to focus on the defense because that was just an all-around put-together performance, and I got to shout out a Gamecock, I should say, 2 interception grabs for J.C. Horn. They were both ridiculous one-handed catches that came at really crucial points in the game, so he got some love from Coach Dave Canales after the game as well. A couple other Gamecocks on the offensive side did some good things. 9 receptions, 92 yards, and 1 touchdown for Xavier Leggett, and of course 17 carries and 79 yards for Rico Dowdle too. So we're just going to go ahead and listen to head coach Dave Canales talking about the fact that this team is 500 for the first time in quite a while.
We're one game at a time, and just taking these wins and celebrating the heck out of it. We have to keep that focus because it's required of us to go back to work. We'll celebrate it. We'll look at the film. We'll correct the things that we can improve on, but we have to have that kind of resilience and focus to just take a next step, go to the next game. We got a great opponent coming up. And I cannot leave this podium without, again, just talking about the Jets, Coach Wilkes, and just the job that they did, and our guys to have the resilience to take care of the football was a big deal today, especially with the challenges that we were presented. So really proud of the group and the way we finished.
So a lot of excitement about the game, yes, but a little bit of concern moving forward now for starting quarterback Bryce Young. He left the game late in the third quarter after looking like he planted on his foot wrong or got rolled up on. It just didn't look great, but NFL Network is saying today that Bryce has a high ankle sprain and is not expected to play when the Panthers host the Bills this coming Sunday. However, Coach Canales was vague yesterday after the game when answering questions about Bryce's ankle and wasn't really committing to going either way of, saying what exactly was wrong, just saying that they were going to evaluate him. And now today in his press conference, he actually said that they're day-to-day with Young and they're pretty much going to do everything that they can to get him out there on the field. So seems to be a little bit of conflict as to what exactly Young's status is going to be. Julia, what are you thinking about that, and what do you make of NFL Network on this side and maybe Canales saying something else?
Yeah, obviously some confusion there. Obviously Carolina doesn't want to give up all their cards this earlier in the week. It's only Monday, and you're going up against the Bills this week,
right,
which that is not a game that you don't want to have your starting quarterback for, especially when you have been on this hot streak of winning 3 games in a row and, kind of experiencing things that you haven't really seen from the Panthers in a really long time. So I got to believe, they're hoping that he's healthy and they'll go through the motions this week expecting that he will be. But, altogether, he's not the only one on the team who's playing well, which I think is something huge for the Panthers, and that's not always been the case. So, of course, you want to have Bryce, but you've got a lot of other really great weapons as well, Tegan.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough game for the Panthers. The Bills are coming off of a bye week. Before that, a bad loss to the Patriots. I think this is a really hungry team. Hopefully the Bills have figured out what was wrong with their D-line in that game, and I feel like they're going to be dangerous this upcoming week.
Yeah, Tegan, I think, like Julia just said, there's lots of positives for the Panthers. So the defense is what I've been concerned with. So to see them play well down the stretch in this one, especially J.C. Horn, that's definitely positive for the Panthers, especially if they're not going to have their starting quarterback with Bryce Young. But we know the run game's been working, so if Chuba Hubbard, Rico Dowdle can keep it going, hopefully they have some confidence in that too. Either way, the Panthers are above 500, so people, stay optimistic on this one. Thanks so much for joining us on today's episode of Palmetto Sports Daily. We'll see you tomorrow.